Dads, do you want a thriving business that doesn't control you? A passionate marriage and kids that adore you? Do you want to grow deeper in your faith? Be healthier, both physically and mentally? Build more meaningful relationships with your friends? Welcome to the Balanced Business Dad podcast, where in each episode we dive into balancing and optimizing the 6 pillars of life: faith, health, marriage, fatherhood, brotherhood, and business. And here are your hosts, pioneers of the Balanced Business Dad movement, Dustin Hogue and RJ Campbell.
What's up, guys? Welcome to another episode of the Balanced Business Dad. I'm your host, Coach Dustin, and with me, as always, my senior, my very stable partner and co-host and friend, Mr. RJ Campbell. RJ, how are we doing today?
Doing great, guys. How are you? All right, senior and stable.
I'm just trying to think
not
of
sure where
other
stable
ways,
came from.
because stable seems boring to me. So the older, the boring, that guy. If you walked into a car dealership, everybody would want him because, he has that 900 credit score.
He's wearing khakis and white New Balance Velcro shoes.
Exactly.
This dude is going to spend some money on that new Prius.
Exactly.
And
So true. All right, guys. So we have a episode today, and really we just wanted to riff on this because this has been something that we've kind of been going back and forth with for the last, month or two. And we're curious out there how many people have ever had this. So time freedom. Well, first of all, did you guys know there was this thing called a time freedom myth?
Right.
Myth meaning that it's not accurate, right? So as an entrepreneur, most of us get into business. I know I got into business. I know you got into business. For this time freedom, for this freedom aspect, to be able to be my own boss, make my own schedule, do what I want to do, and I make the rules, blah, 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 blah.
Blah, 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 blah.
And
work
that's what
when I want to work.
Yeah, that's that time of freedom that everybody talks about. And I've coached a lot of business owners, and the reality of it is I was that person. And up until recently, until RJ ruined my life for me, I thought I had what was time freedom.
Wrong.
What I realized is it's not time freedom that I have. It's time flexibility.
Yes.
Is what I have.
I think I wrote that one.
Yeah. And it's when he brought it to my attention, at first it rubbed me the wrong way because I got into entrepreneurship for this time freedom and I own several businesses for time freedom. But the reality is that's not what freedom is. It's flexibility. Like I'm never going to miss my son's baseball games or basketball games. I'm never going to miss my daughter's basketball games or anything like that. There's flexibility in it, but there's been several times where I've went back to the office at 8, 9 o'clock at night because I had to get some work done.
Right.
So we're looking into this, and honestly, we're just going to tell you, we asked AI, what is the time freedom myth? So RJ, take it away.
So we're going to read what AI came back with. Amazing. The time freedom myth is the belief that entrepreneurship provides individuals with complete control over their time and schedule. Many people think by starting their own business, they'll be able to work whenever they want, take as much time off as they need, and have the freedom to pursue personal interest without any constraints. I think that's what we thought.
Absolutely, that's what I thought.
Then it says, our favorite word, however, in reality, entrepreneurship often requires a significant investment of time and energy, particularly in the early stages of starting a business. You might be working 24/7, facing the constant pressure of the hustle and the grind, which can result in a lack of work-life balance, or what we would say, balance in the 6 pillars.
Absolutely, yeah.
It nailed it. While it certainly has other benefits as flexibility and the ability to pursue one's passions, it's important to recognize that time freedom myth is just that, a myth.
Wow,
smarter than us.
First of all, that knocked me off my socks because, again, there's been those times, and this is kind of where I've been out of balance in life, right? And I'm curious if anybody else has been out of balance like this. But I have that time flexibility in I can go to my son's games, yet am I present?
Well, that's a good question.
That's kind of the big thing is, even though now I thought I had that time freedom, but are we present? And I think that's where balancing the 6 pillars of life really comes into play. Because you can do the one's actions, but that doesn't mean you're present. And to me, the balance is all about being present when you're supposed to be present.
Yes, I agree. That's the balance of that. That's where we're balancing our work, the last pillar.
Yes.
With the things more important.
Yeah. So we look about it and we started talking. It's all right. So does time freedom exist? And honestly, I think it does. I don't know if it exists for entrepreneurs though. And I think that's the myth out there that everybody is selling and that I've bought into. And I've spent hundreds of thousands of dollars on personal development and education and things like that. And it's never got me where I have time freedom. So to me, the person with time freedom is the person with no responsibilities.
The homeless guy.
The homeless guy on the corner.
Total time freedom.
Completely. Nowhere to go, nowhere to be. And honestly, that's not what I want. That's not the life I've chosen. That's not the life I want to live. So I don't want time freedom. I do want that time flexibility, though.
Right. This time flexibility came up just last week when I used the term maybe for the first time. I have a daughter-in-law and our granddaughter visiting us here in St. Louis for 5 weeks. And I took off 3 days to be able to hang out with Charlie, our granddaughter. That is time flexibility. Yeah. I didn't have to ask anybody. Businesses were running. People knew what I was doing. It could be reached if I needed. But I had the flexibility that I could take off those days.
Yeah,
and that's when it hit. Like, wow, that's not time free. It's the flexibility. That's what we need. That's what we're really looking for.
Yeah. And what you've put in your life there is you've put in the systems and operations that allows you to do that. So you can be present. So you were balancing every pillar at that time.
Yes. Was not thinking about work. Knew things were being tended to.
Yeah.
Yep.
And that's powerful when we can have this flexibility and yet still be in balance and still be present.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there is something that you said, and you probably don't even remember you saying this, but you got your oil changed a couple weeks ago, maybe a month ago, something like that. And you said you were sitting there and, you know, they were running behind or something like that. And this time you weren't worried about getting back to work.
I do remember that. I'm thinking, oh my gosh, it's getting close to 8:30, 9 o'clock. A year ago, I would have been thinking, oh my gosh, people are going to wonder where I am. Do I need to call my boss because I'm getting an oil changed in the morning?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I did not have that worry about that.
Yeah.
No, we're okay. No one's asking about me.
That's time flexibility.
That's flexibility.
But do you work more now?
Yes. It's funny. He asked that question because he knows the answer. This was probably a month ago, but my wife makes it, come home in the evening and probably doing some extra work. I didn't know what it was. And she's laughingly says, I think you work more hours now, or definitely work harder. That's easy to do than you did when you had, as she always calls it, a real job, not, just running 2 or 3 or 4 companies. She was joking. She was like, but serious. She's like, I think you work harder now. And I said, yeah, I think I do work harder. But when I come home at the end of the day, I don't feel like kicking the dog. And luckily we don't have a dog, so we'd never kick a dog.
For all those pet people out there, there's no dog.
There's no dog in the house. And she just laughed. She said, yeah, you're right. You're a lot happier. So that is my time freedom or flexibility.
And balance.
And balance.
That's the cool part about this, guys, is we can be present. When you have this flexibility that entrepreneurship gives you, then you can be present when you need to be present. Now, I want to caveat, I'm not going to sell somebody a dream that I've been sold and that I've bought, saying that you're going to get it real quick. No, you have to pay your dues with this.
You do.
You truly have to pay your dues. But the reality of it is the more you pay your dues, the more you don't want time freedom. You want more responsibilities because you want to be the best person you can be.
Mm-hmm.
The balanced business ads, our whole goal is just to be better tomorrow than we are today. And that's going to be in every pillar, right?
Yep.
But to be better, you have to be more productive in it. And that takes the time flexibility, not the time freedom.
So where do you see your time flexibility?
My time flexibility is in so many things. Now we have a lot of things going on and we schedule things extremely well. Yet if my kids are sick, everything's dropped. I don't care. I'm not going to do those things because I can do those at a different time. And I'm going to go pick up my kids from school. I don't miss, the time, my kids' games or anything like that. That's been real important to me. I grew up with a father who never missed anything, but he sacrificed sleep instead of everything else.
Right.
Because he was a midnight worker. So it was very important to me that I was programmed that way, that my dad was there. And I know we've led kind of different lives when it comes to that, but that's how I wanted to make sure, because I'd been in a sales position before getting into entrepreneurship. And sometimes that can take you away and you didn't have that because if the client was calling, hell, even when I was a real estate agent in the beginning, sometimes I had a showing or I had a listing appointment that would have taken that flexibility away from me because I was at the beck and call of my clients.
Right.
And through paying my dues, I was able to get that flexibility where I'll just tell a client, no, I'm on an appointment. And that's kind of that time management that we have to work through as an entrepreneur, especially if any of you guys are those new entrepreneurs, because I know I've been through that, is how do we manage this word time? First of all, time is not manageable. 60 seconds is going to pass and that's going to be a minute, and 60 minutes is going to pass and that's going to be an hour, whether you want it to or not. So all we can do is manage ourselves in that time.
Yeah, that's where we make this sound like it's really easy. Oh, I'm going to be an entrepreneur. Now I have total time flexibility.
Yeah.
It may not be that way at the beginning. No, not may. It's not going to be that at the beginning.
Yeah.
Unless you inherited a company that's big and running and it doesn't matter. You're not just instantly going to have that flexibility, not total flexibility.
Right.
But you still have control and flexibility.
And I think that's the main thing with control. It's all about mindset, right? It's all about controlling the mind on what I'm going to say I'm going to do and putting those rocks, those big rocks, in your calendar that can't be moved.
Right.
Just like you would an appointment for a client.
Yeah. I could leave my office for 3 days and travel the country and have client meetings, and the world did not end.
Yeah. All day long. It's interesting. One of my first, mentors as a real estate agent, we became real close friends and stuff like that. And I would hear him on the phone, oh no, I have an appointment I'm stepping right into. And then him and I were going to lunch. Or I have an appointment right now. And then him and I would go out on his boat. And I'm like, you're not on an appointment. He's like, yes, I am. It's my appointment.
My appointment's on my calendar.
Yeah. And that changed the way I looked at everything. So the important things need to be on your calendar.
It's mindset as much as, for us, the time freedom myth was absolutely real when we realized it.
Yeah.
This is one of the times it came up where Dustin and I both got started really in the entrepreneurship side on the real estate side. And we wanted financial freedom and time freedom. And by the time Dustin had, 50 rental properties, you don't really have a lot of time freedom when you're running a company that big and you have a property management company and now you have employees and you're not just sitting back and counting your money and sitting on the beach every day.
Yeah.
Because you have a job. You built a company and there is a job involved. So time freedom isn't 24 hours a day of nothing to do. I can do whatever I want.
Right.
You have to be pretty independently wealthy to do that.
Yep.
So it is so much mindset. And we've probably talked about that before. As you build this company of yours, whatever that is, real estate, or you have an HVAC company, or you're in the plumbing business, whatever all the entrepreneurs that we talk to are doing, it's the mindset of knowing you have the right people in place that, yes, you can go away for a day and it's probably not going to just burn down.
Correct.
And if it does, you have insurance anyway.
Right.
So a lot of mindset is about, I have to be there. I have to have my hands on this. Now, if you're a solopreneur, probably a little bit different, but you have the right people in place. And believe me, they're in place. We just don't want to think they are.
Yeah, that's the big part about this. And sometimes it's to get that ego out. I've been that solopreneur that became an entrepreneur. And that is there's transitions and I offer courses on that, but it's the solopreneur to go to an entrepreneur is one of the biggest things is nobody can do it as good as I can.
Right.
That is the biggest thing right there that you have to learn is, how to hire, right? I do believe that you have to hire, but hire someone better than you.
Always.
Every single time. I think Henry Ford is the word I first learned that everybody he surrounded himself with was smarter than him for that reason.
Yeah, if you're the smartest man in the room, you need a different room.
You need a different room. Yeah. Absolutely.
And you need to surround yourself with different people.
Yeah. So again, this kind of brings it back. It's this time freedom myth is truly that. And it took me a long time. You're not alone if you're out there searching for time freedom, because I was. But let's rephrase it for a second and be really, what am I looking for? I want to be able to have choices. I want to be able to have options. That's flexibility.
Make my own decisions.
Correct.
I don't have to ask. Dustin brings up a story because I've mentioned it before. This is before when I was still working in corporate America, a real job, as my wife would say. And we were going to a mastermind on a Thursday or a Friday, taking a full day to be at a mastermind. That was fantastic. And when we got there, and there were probably 40 or 50 people at this mastermind, we're in a big meeting room, and I knew a lot of them. And that was the revelation to me. I'm sitting there looking around this room at all these people. And as Dustin reminds you often, I'm not young. And I'm looking around and thinking, holy crap, I am probably the only person in this room that had to ask somebody's permission to take a day away from work and come to this mastermind. I had to put in an approval request for a time off to my boss, who was probably younger than me, to get permission to go to this mastermind. And I'm telling you, that was the day. I know it so well. That changed my life.
Yeah.
Now, that's a different topic, but that is when I decided, okay, I'm going to go 100% into these businesses that we've started and are running, and I don't want to be reporting to somebody else forever.
Yeah.
So to me, that was the vision of, I want time freedom.
But really, it was that flexibility.
It was flexibility.
Because now we went to masterminds. Hell, we've traveled twice since that time. right? We were in Orlando, we were in West Palm, and we would be at these masterminds, and then we'd go back to the hotel and work a little bit because it's flexibility, but we still got to do what we wanted to do.
And our world did not end back home.
Not at all.
Companies kept going.
Absolutely. And that, again, rephrase what you're looking for and rephrase that you just want options. Because could you imagine, RJ, what if that approval was denied?
Yeah, I'd have quit.
Probably because I was working on you and that kind of thing that whole time.
Dustin had spent a couple of years hounding me to quit my job or get fired and take severance and go do other stuff, whatever that plan is. But yeah, what would have, I have no idea.
But there's people out there right now that are being denied or denying their own request.
I know a lot of those people. Well, I can't go. I really just can't take off work right now.
Yeah.
Big project going on. Yeah, I can't go to that.
Yeah.
We've all been there.
Absolutely.
Sometimes it could possibly be true. Probably not.
Yeah.
That's why you're with a big company. There's plenty of people, but we tell ourselves that about our own companies all the time. Well, I really need to be there today.
Yeah.
We have a delivery coming in. Well, what are you running, a forklift?
Right. One of the companies I run right now is 2 hours from where I live, and it still runs. So again, there's flexibility in all this, guys. So kind of to wrap this up, it's the time freedom myth is just that. It's a myth. I know I wasn't looking for zero responsibilities. I'm going to say that you're not looking for zero responsibilities. So what I know I had to do was change my mindset around what time freedom meant. And it meant that I have flexibility and I have options. And because of that flexibility and because of those options, I'm able to be present where I need to be present at in the 6 pillars of life.
In the 6 pillars.
Yeah.
That's exactly right. Then that's where we come to our pillars, which we have not even mentioned the pillars in this one. We assume everybody knows what the pillars are. Probably a false assumption.
That is true.
So I'll just say very quickly, when we talk about our 6 pillars of life and everybody's, we believe in order of importance, these 6 pillars that we live through and try to balance, and try is a very important word there, is our faith and our health and our marriage, being a father, brotherhood, our friends, and last, not least, but last, our business.
Yeah.
That is the priority order. And you shouldn't be thinking about one when you're doing the other. How many times have we been sitting in church on a Sunday and you're just dying to check your phone because there's something that comes into your mind about work?
Yeah.
Or at your kid's game, like we were just talking about, you're at a basketball game and you're thinking about work or you're emailing somebody. Yeah. So that's how we try to get this time flexibility within those pillars.
Yeah. Absolutely.
If that makes any sense.
Guys, I know this was a journey for us, especially me, until RJ had to crush my dreams of time freedom.
You don't have time freedom, big boy.
Yet I have a lot of time flexibility, and it's been an amazing journey for me to discover this. So I hope you're on this journey looking for this so-called time freedom. Now let's just rewire that and realize really what it is, because when you realize what it is, you might be closer to get it.
And by the way, time freedom is taking time at 1:00 in the afternoon on a Thursday to spend an hour working on a podcast. Absolutely. I didn't have to ask anybody if I could take off work to do this, by the way. Well, Dustin had to clear it.
I would have denied the request. So I hope this helps. This is one of those things that's out there. Right now, there is a lot of those gurus out there selling you time freedom. Really ask yourself what you want before you go buy into that dream.
And enjoy your time flexibility.
Absolutely. Guys, that's what we have. We'll see you on the next one.
Well, that wraps up another episode of the Balanced Business Dad podcast. Thanks for listening. Thanks for downloading. Do us a favor, wherever you get your podcast, give us a rating. That helps a lot. That helps this podcast get seen by other dads, other men who are looking for something like this to listen to, these kind of messages. And we also want to add that on, you can go to thedadupgroup.com. That'll take you directly to our public Facebook group, The Balanced Business Dad. We have a couple hundred men doing life together on there. So again, go to thedadupgroup.com. That'll take you directly to the Facebook group that we have. It's free to sign up. For signing up, you will also get a copy of our Dad Up framework. We've talked about that before. So grab a copy of that. There's even a video there explaining what the whole Dad Up framework is. So again, go to dadupgroup.com, head over to that free Facebook page, sign up, and let's continue these conversations. Have a great day, and we will talk to you on the next episode. See you guys.
This is thepodcastfactory.com.